for this technique, the relief technique, you're actually going to be working with the surface of your picture. So what is your piece of fruit actually painted on? We want it to be a relief painting, which means it sticks out from the back. My picture, of course, is a pear. You know what shape a pear is. You're going to grab some tag board, which is over on the counter, and you're going to draw the shape of your fruit on the tag board. So I have the shape of my pear here. And I want it to stick out three-dimensionally. I want this part of the pear to be the furthest back. I want the stem to look like it's a little bit closer, and then the belly of the pear to appear a little bit closer. So I'm going to take another piece of tag board. I'm going to trace this shape. Only this time I'm going to cut it down a little bit. So if you notice, my stem is a little bit longer. This part comes down a little bit. To get my very top piece, I'm going to concentrate on this shape in here. So I'm going to trace it again. This time I'm going to cut out this shape. All three of these I'm going to stack on top of one another, and I'm going to glue them together, and then take this and glue it on to my white paper. When I'm done, this is what it will look like. If you used rubber cement, make sure you take a rubber cement picker-upper and you clean up all of the edges, because your paint will not stick to it. Once you're done, you're simply going to use the blending technique to finish it. Now we want it to look like it's actually three-dimensionally off of the board, so we're going to be painting all along the edges here. So when I start to paint, I'm going to get my background in here. Remember, we did it really quick, mixed a bunch of different colors. If I go over the top of it a little bit, it's not a big deal. We always start with the background and then do the foreground, and then any mistakes I made, my foreground will cover it up, especially if you're working with thick paint. Go ahead and add bottom here, just a little bit brown in it. If you notice, I can see a little bit of light coming through here, simply because I told you before, red is a real translucent type of paint. Right, but because I'm using black tag board, right, it may take a little bit for me to cover some of it. So I want to actually start with a base coat. As soon as that's dry, I'll go ahead and I'll get a base coat of the green. You'll see it doesn't cover it exactly. I want just a flat color of green. And I'll let that dry, and then I'll start adding my highlights and shadows. My finished example that I have is actually an apple. But you'll get the idea when I show it to you. So I'm going to let that dry. Once that dries, then I'm going to start going back in just like I did with my blending technique, and I'm going to start adding highlights and shadows in it. Remember, you have to do it while the paint is wet in order for it to blend properly. So if I'm going to start adding highlights on my pear, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to add another coat of green, and while that's wet, then I'll add the white in it and start blending it. And right here where this bottom part starts to stick out, okay, that's the closest thing to me, so I know that there's going to be a little bit of a highlight up there as it sticks out further. Down on the bottom here, I can start to add darker values. Right. All working while it's wet. This is my finished product. Again, I told you it was an apple, but you still get the idea. You can tell that it's a relief that it actually sticks out. Where it sticks out here, I have highlights. In the back, I made it a little bit darker. And then, of course, down at the bottom, I made it darker. And that is relief.